Welcome to another episode of Project Renegade. It's been a very long time since we've done an episode on Project Renegade here. It's been so long that I don't even remember what number episode this is going to be. But in this episode, I'm going to show you how to change the rear lower control arms. First thing we're going to do is chock the wheels with something. Because we don't want this thing going forward when we jack up the rear. Okay, then we're going to jack up the vehicle now that we've got the front wheels chocked and it's not going to go anywhere on us. We're just going to jack it up in the center by the differential to get the whole rear end up so we can put some jack stands under the frame. Okay, that has the wheels just off the ground. Jack stands seem to be okay. Let's check this one over here. It seems to be all right too. Got some noise in there. Seems to be secure. We'll go ahead and get the jack out of there, and then we'll get on to the next part. And the next step, of course, take the wheel off. I've got the jack under there still. It's not actually putting any pressure on the axle, but it's just barely touching it, just as an extra safety measure. These are 19 millimeter, by the way. Okay, now I'm going to bring the camera in a little bit closer so you can see what we're going to do. Okay, what we're going to be replacing is our lower control arms. And you're only going to have 4 bolts that are actually going to hold that in. You've got a bolt up here at the top, bolt here at the bottom, and then 2 that hold your rear sway bar. I'm going to take a look and see if the upper needs changed. Okay, right here. This upper piece here is your sway bar, and this is your lower control arm. As you can tell, it's pretty rusted, and if you see this, that's actually a hole, and it's rotted all the way through. What I'm going to do is take a light, stick back here. Now you can see clear through this thing. That is not very safe. So that's why I'm changing this one. The passenger side, like I said, isn't all that bad. But I found the pair cheaper than it was to buy just one. So I'm going to go ahead and replace both of them. And I didn't even think about it to look at the upper, because it only has a single upper that's like a triangle shape, which I don't think you can see it up in here. But I'm going to take a look at it and see if it needs replaced. And it also has like a little ball joint on it. But enough about that. Now we'll get to actually taking this thing apart. Okay, I'm going to start by taking off these 2 bolts for the sway bar. I actually soaked these in penetrating oil yesterday and today, but they're still going to be on there relatively tightly. So we might end up breaking these, I don't know. I'm hoping we don't break any of them because I don't have any other hardware. But it's a 18 millimeter. And I am going to use an extendable ratchet so I can actually get some leverage on there, because I can't get my impact gun in there. I can barely get this in there. Got a little bit of a turn. What I like to do is tighten it back up just a little bit. Kind of move it back and forth. way you can get some of the penetrating oil in there. I'll go ahead and break this one loose if I can. Try not to get your ratchet stuck like I just did. I am going to wipe off my tools and wash my hands off because I can't hold on to anything because of all this penetrating oil. Okay, the next part is going to be a little hard to see. I'm going to be removing the bottom bolt here. I got my tripod down as low as it can go, and it still won't go low enough. But hopefully here, I'll be able to actually use some power tools. It's 21 millimeter. Going to use a long 21 millimeter wrench on this side. And I'm going to try to use my impact on the other side. Get a dead blow here. See. Now that's interesting. I've got to take the shock off of here. I thought I was going to have just enough room to get by, but I guess not. So it honestly looked like I was going to be able to get that bolt to go right by, but that's my luck. Okay, I've managed to get the camera in a little bit better angle. I think you can see in here now. For the shock, 15 millimeter wrench on this side and an 18 millimeter socket on the other. Again, I've got room for power tools, so I'm going to use them. Perfect. Now we're hitting the shock again, but we're out of the way. Got that out. Get your punch out of there without banging your wrist against the differential like I just did. That didn't feel very pleasant. Okay, now we are back to the front side. Let me move some light around here. Hopefully you can see. I'm going to be using a 21 millimeter socket again on the impact wrench and a 21 millimeter wrench. Oh yeah, that's going to fall too. Well, this how-to isn't going very well, is it? Yeah, not at all. That falls and then throws penetrating oil right in my eye. Oh, this is real professional. Might just have to set up and do it all over again on the other side and make it look professional, but no, I think I'll just leave this in here so you can see how it actually works in the real world. You know, you watch those TV shows and everything goes perfectly. Well, no, it doesn't. This is how it actually happens. Okay. Control arm out. Okay, now we're going to take our new control arm, get it into place here. Just going to spin that on there so I don't lose it. Now on this part, we're going to need our bolt and a punch of some sort because we still have the wheel and the sway bar and everything connected on the other side. And if you notice, when I pulled off the old control arm, the axle actually shifted a little bit. So when we go to put this in here, it'll go in, but it's not going to line up with the hole. So what we're going to do is get the punch kind of in position and push back on the axle enough until where you can get that punch kind of sat in there, which I really need to do this from the opposite side. I forgot the bolt goes on this side over here. See, again, not like TV. Not everything is perfect. Get the punch in position. Push the axle a little bit. Get the shock out of the way, which may have just blocked your view. If it did, I'm sorry. Then just use your punch to kind of pry the axle into position to where you can get that bolt started. Drive your bolt through. Put the nut on the back. Make sure these line up. And they do. Let's just go ahead and tighten these down. This is like the never-ending bolt. Okay, and then what you want to do is tighten down, not completely, but tighten down your 2 bolts for the control arm, because you don't actually want to tighten these completely until you have the vehicle back on its own weight. Because if you tighten them up now, when you go to set it down, everything's going to be in a bind. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just look around and make sure that, you know, everything is in place, because we did have the suspension at full droop. And get our shock bolted back up, which we're going to have to bring the axle up just a little bit. Let's see if that was enough. That was perfect. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I am going to use power tool, but I'm going to turn the power setting down on it and tighten these up just a little bit, just to make sure that it's all in place. And like I said, we won't do the final tighten until it's under its own weight. Okay, as you can see, it's still loose, but it's not going anywhere because the rust in the threads is kind of acting like thread locker. Gonna do the same thing down here. Got all of that out of the way. Again, the sway bar bolts are tight, but the 2 that hold the control arm are not. We'll have to put the wheel back on, lower it back down, and then tighten those up. Because like I said, if you tighten it right now while your suspension is completely drooped, then you're going to put everything in a bind. Okay, now we're going to throw the wheel back on. There we go. I don't know what it is today. Nothing. Absolutely nothing seems to be going smoothly. Maybe it's a sign that I should just give up on this thing and let it rot. Can't do that because I like it. And those are just semi-tight. Once it's down on the ground, I'll go through and I'll actually torque them with the torque wrench I've got laying over here. Basically, you've seen how that works now. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. I'm not going to film the other side because, I mean, just to be honest, this has been a pain to actually film because I've had to get the camera wedged up in here and try to work around the camera. I didn't have this issue before when I was using the little tiny GoPro cameras because I could stick those anywhere, but the video quality was crap. So now that I'm actually using a decent camera and it's bigger, I can't get it into those spots. Well, I can get it into those spots, but I can't get in there with it. So it makes things a little bit more difficult. So I'm just going to do the other side off camera. And I don't know if you can hear that, but I've got some brake noise on the other side that I've got to inspect as well. So I'll get that done, and then we'll wrap this video up. Okay, I know I said I wasn't going to record this side, but I just had to show you guys something. This side was pretty much the same. You had to unbolt the shock and all that stuff. I've just got the brakes torn apart because of that noise. And again, that noise was the shoe, or the actual brake pad material fell off the emergency brake shoe. But this side, you have to take the exhaust off. You have to unbolt it right there at the muffler and let it drop in order to get that bolt right there out. You can take the nut and everything off of it, but you can't get the bolt out because it hits the muffler. I tried, just unhooking all these little rubber hangers for the exhaust, but it still wouldn't move. I mean, it didn't budge a bit when I unhooked it. So I had to unbolt the exhaust. Luckily, those actually came, the 2 bolts on that flange came apart fairly easy. So that dropped down. So yeah, the passenger side on this is a little more intensive. A lot more cussing, a lot more busted knuckles, and a lot more tools just thrown around everywhere. Okay, I'm going to get back to work on this thing. Well, that about does it for another episode of Project Renegade. Like I said in the beginning, it's been quite a while since we've done any work on Project Renegade. It's just kind of got tossed to the side and been working on Project Dirty Willie most of the time. But like I said, I hunted down that clicking sound and found some more issues. Speaking of those, I can show you that control arm now, that it's completely off of there. Yeah, you can see completely through that thing. I mean, it's rotted. It's really, really bad. I didn't show, letting it down or anything, but basically I jacked it back up, took the jack stands out, lowered it down, and then that's when you do your final tightening of all of your control arms and stuff, because if you tighten them down with your suspension at full droop like that, it's going to clamp your bushings in place, like the rubber bushings. And then when you set the suspension back down, or you compress the suspension back to ride height, it's got that rubber bushing kind of clamped, and it'll actually kind of try to tweak it and tear it. It puts everything in a bind. Sometimes it'll make stuff ride funny. I've heard people say, well, I've never done that. I've tightened them up all the time, but I don't know. It's just something I've always done. And if you've ever installed a lift kit or any type of suspension parts, and if you actually look at the instructions, 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell you to, just hand tighten it, get it under its own weight, and then do the final tightening. And they'll normally give you like a torque spec, But, that's just me. I didn't show that part because, the video was probably going to run long anyway. Today just wasn't going right. Everything that went wrong could go wrong, and it's so hot in here. So, that was my attempt at a how-to for the control arms, and it's going to be, I don't even know what number episode for Project Renegade. But, so if you were using this as a step-by-step how-to, hopefully you got enough information out of it to, get your control arms changed. Yeah, I think that's about it. So if you're new to my channel, if you just stumbled across this video somehow, make sure to go into my channel and check out some of my other videos. I've got videos on this Jeep. We've got videos on Project Dirty Willie, which is a 2015 Willys Wheeler Jeep Wrangler. That has a lot more work done to it than this. I do weather videos, gun reviews, gun field strips, just all kinds of different videos. So there's probably something in there that you like. So if you find something that you like, make sure to hit the like button. And if you have something to say, leave it down in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel.